Welcome back to the Freedom Family. I'm Casey Peterson.
And I'm Michael Peterson.
And today we have a present for you as we present the present of presents. I said it. Get over it.
I came up with it, just to be fair.
Terrible. So, we have, last week we talked about our value of family. And if we are going to reclaim the kids and restore American values, that is the mission of Freedom Families United, then it starts in the family. So let's review our 3 main points from last week.
That's right.
If you want to do that.
So, raising a strong family that's rooted in values is really the most important thing that you can accomplish in your life. And number 2 that we wanted you to remember from last week was that your spouse should be your best friend. So you really need to be nurturing and working on that relationship. And then also, in order to do that, as a family and as a couple, we need to be working on presence, honesty, and service as the 3 main values of strengthening our families.
And how we worked on that this last week is that I didn't lose my mind with our little boy who was trying our patience this weekend, and I felt like strangling him. So that helped to strengthen our family by not strangling my youngest child.
Consistency is key.
That's right. Even when they're frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
But let's kick this off, the lesson about presence. This is such an important value that we wouldn't have even included in our 12 core values maybe, 20 years ago or 10 years ago. But presence has become such an important value. And we like to kick these lessons off by asking a question, just generally, typically from youngest to oldest, and kind of start the discussion of what is presence and why is it one of our values? Why would it be one of our core values? Why would that be such an important value? Because it's kind of rolled into discipline in a way, right? It's a very specific type of discipline. So the 3 main points from this week that we want to remember, and this is the takeaways that we're going to go over for next week, is number 1, being present means that you are physically and mentally there without distractions. Mm-hmm. Number 2, love is spelled T-I-M-E. That's a quote from Zig Ziglar that we love so much that embodies the value of presence.
I love that.
And finally, how many hours will you give to the people you love this week? And this should be a weekly thing. This shouldn't be uncommon, like only the week of presence that you give that amount of time. You should be finding time every single night, and especially on family night. Set aside that entire night to your family, teach a lesson about values, but make sure you follow that up with doing something fun with the family where you're interacting, a game and things like that. And then, if you don't watch a lot of TV, you can sit down and watch a movie that uplifts everyone, something that starts a conversation maybe. So, there's some good quotes here that I think tie in well to our lesson. First of all, your children need your presence more than your presence. And I'm sorry, I know we already used that pun, but this one's a little profound because this seems to be a way a lot of parents want to shower their kids with gifts to show their love for them, when what their kids really want is the greatest gift you can give them, which is your time.
I like to think, so on our kids' birthdays, instead of getting them a big gift or anything, we like to do a big activity or an event where we go out and we actually make memories with them. Because think back to when you were a kid. What do you remember getting? Like, you might remember a few presents that you really, really loved, but ultimately you remember those family vacations, that time, your parents spent with you as a kid. Those become ingrained in your brain deeper than the gifts you got at Christmas or your birthdays or any random.
Even one year, we didn't even have that much money, and our little boy, we had driven by this place with tractors, and he loved tractors, mm-hmm. and we just went out and literally walked around and took pictures with these giant tractors at this place down in downtown Albuquerque, mm-hmm. and he remembered it so much, he loved it so much, even the next year he was asking if he could go back and go see the tractors again.
It was just a construction rental place, so they had all their tractors lined up out front, and we just parked in the parking lot and went and checked out all the tractors. He
literally
loved it so much.
Even on their birthday, rather than giving them presents, we literally just give them our presents and go do something like, amusement park or maybe water park, or just go out to eat and go to the movie theater or something like that. Just something that they get to help pick what we do. Mm-hmm. But, and another quote that I think is profound, if you want to...
Sure. So it says, technology can bring us close to people that are far away, but it can push us far away from people who are close.
And I don't think anyone's going to disagree with this, because this is something that we're actually struggling with. I say struggling with, but this is just a challenge that we're taking on right now, because our daughter is getting to the age, she's turning 13 here, actually here today, and we are, or tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow.
And we are struggling with how we are going to allow her to have a cell phone, because she hasn't had a cell phone up to this point. She's turning 13, and we believe strongly in the fact that a child, from the time they are born until they become an adult, right, from the time that they're born until they're 18 years old, it is your job to ensure that they are always getting a little bit more rights, right? You constrain them completely when they're a baby, right? They have no freedom, no rights really. You have to completely take care of and control every aspect of their life. And then as they get older and older, they get more and more freedoms. And that goes for when you give them electronics, free reign of electronics as well. She's had electronics. She has access to these things. She'll use our phones or our devices, but is getting to that age that we're giving her her own cell phone, and you don't just turn them loose on it. If your children are young and you're just turning them loose on the devices, you are doing them a grave disservice. A lot of kids sitting there are probably like, turn it off, Mom, turn it off, Dad, hurry.
Don't listen.
But she's 13, and so we're turning this device over to her, but that means it comes with restrictions on putting apps on there that control how much time they can spend on, different number of apps, what apps they can even have on there to begin with. Certain apps they won't be able to access at all. For example, TikTok is one of those that actually change the way a child's brain works, right? Those quick dopamine hits, they've been on there for an hour and a half. They couldn't even tell you 99% of the videos or whatever they watched, and it just constantly retrains their brain to need this onslaught of stimuli, and they don't have an attention span at all. It absolutely destroys their capability to critically think, sit there and be bored, be there with their thoughts, and be alone with their thoughts. So we're making that jump right now, where we're discovering what apps are available to us, and also monitoring, saying you're going to be 100% monitored. Everything you do, we'll be able to see it. And then as they get to the point where they're 16, 17 years old, you've now slowly released all those restrictions. They have 100% reign of those devices, maybe at 17 years old.
And we do that because they need to understand that it is a tool, not a toy. They need to understand the dangers of social media and of the internet and things like that. And so it has to be a learning process that we teach them how to control, themselves on the internet and with a phone.
And then I think probably the most sobering quote that we have, sobering thought here for the day, is that to enjoy the little things, for one day you may look back and realize that they were the big things.
Absolutely.
And this pairs with our value of family last week, saying family is the most important thing. And some people realize it way too late, that family is by far the most important thing you will ever accomplish with your life, regardless of what else you think is important in your life. And I think it's important with presence that it's not just about being there with them, right? It's about being there and having these deeper conversations, just communicating, even conversations about what they think is important, even if it might bore you or might be ridiculous in your mind at that moment, but to that child it might be the most important thing in their life. And you just talking through things with them, helping them think through these things, makes that deep, strong connection to you. And being present to have fun, being present to play games with your children. It's not that you're like every game they play, but find something that you can all enjoy together, and that allows you that opportunity to break out of the normal, mundane, everyday. And
I think that's absolutely essential, is learning how to have fun with your kids, have fun with your spouse, and really making a family, your joy in life.
And this is the most important aspect. This is the part that I love of Family Night the most. This is some questions that help spur some conversation and get things started in your family. And these questions, just have 3 quick questions. But number 1, who is someone that you know that lives the value of presence?
Yeah. So I always think of my mom. She's so good with the kids, whether they're tiny babies, she's on the floor playing with them, or they're reading books to them, and the older kids teaching them skills like sewing and different things like that. I always use her as my example of, I need to be more like my mom.
I definitely second that. She's great with the kids. And
our next question is, how has a lack of presence hurt or destroyed one or more of your relationships in the past, or is currently hindering the progress and nurturing of your relationship right now?
We have to look to the good and the bad examples when we're trying to teach somebody, because you have to know what you're modeling your life after. And then finally, we ask, how does your family struggle the most with presence? What does each family member think is your biggest struggle when it comes to presence as a family value? So I want to sum it up again with those 3 main points that we can remember for next week and remember throughout the week. Is number 1, being present means that you're physically and mentally there without distractions. That's how you show the people you love that they're important to you. Number 2, love is spelled T-I-M-E. And finally, how many hours will you give the people that you love this week?
And then, sorry.
And finally, we got a fun activity. We're going to do probably indoor activities. It's been raining a lot, and a treat, and maybe family movie night, or just hang out and talk and play some games as a family throughout the night. But it's important that you not only teach a lesson about values, ethics, principles to your children, but make sure you set aside most of the night, the majority of the night, to just have fun and talk to them and interact with them and try to build those bonds a little bit deeper and get away from the normal distractions that we all get way too tied up in.
Join or start a Freedom Families United community near you, and please consider making a tax-deductible donation.